The laughter in the living room was loud, the kind of laughter that came from board games, snacks on the table, and a mix of people who didn't all know each other but were trying to enjoy the night. Among them sat Michael Harris, a 52-year-old man with silver streaks in his hair and a calm presence that didn't need attention. He had been invited by his old friend Mark, who insisted he needed to get out of the house more. On the other end of the table was Emily Carter, a 22-year-old college graduate who had just started her first job. She was the youngest person in the room, full of energy, her eyes bright with excitement as she explained the rules of a card game. Their worlds were decades apart. Yet when their eyes met for the first time, it was as if the room faded for a brief second. Michael quickly looked away, convincing himself it was nothing. But deep down, he felt something stir, something he hadn't felt in years. As the game went on, Emily kept teasing Michael in a light-hearted way. "You're too quiet, Michael. That means you must be secretly plotting your win," she said, flashing him a smile. He chuckled, shaking his head. "Trust me, I'm terrible at this game. You'll see." But as the rounds continued, Michael surprised everyone, including himself, by winning twice in a row. The group cheered, but Emily leaned closer, her voice dropping into something softer. "See? I knew you were hiding something." Michael didn't know why her words lingered longer than they should have. He had been around plenty of people in his life, but Emily's attention made him feel unexpectedly alive. Hours passed. The group slowly thinned out as people left, saying their goodbyes. Soon only a handful remained: Michael, Emily, Mark, and 2 others. The mood was calmer, quieter. Someone suggested one last game before ending the night. As they sat back down, Emily ended up next to Michael this time. Their shoulders nearly touched, and Michael felt his heart beat faster, a reaction he silently scolded himself for. Emily noticed his hesitation. She tilted her head and asked, "Do I make you nervous?" Michael smiled faintly, avoiding her gaze. "You remind me of possibilities I thought I'd left behind." Her expression softened, curiosity flickering in her eyes. For a moment, the game continued around them, but the real tension was between the two of them, unspoken, fragile, and new. By the time the last cards were placed down, the night was over. Mark clapped Michael on the back. "Glad you came, man. We should do this more often." Michael nodded, but his thoughts weren't on the game anymore. They were on Emily, who was gathering her coat. She caught his eye one last time, offering him a smile that felt more personal than casual. "Good night, Michael," she said softly. "Good night, Emily." His voice carried more weight than he intended. As he drove home, the silence of his car felt heavier than usual. He couldn't deny it, there was a spark. A dangerous, unexpected spark between a man who thought love had already passed him by and a young woman just beginning her story. Michael gripped the steering wheel tighter, whispering to himself, "This can't happen, can it?" Yet deep down, he already knew the truth. Something had begun that night, and it would not be easy to ignore. Michael woke the next morning still replaying Emily's smile in his mind. He tried to brush it off, just a pleasant moment, nothing more. But every time he told himself that, the memory returned stronger, like a song stuck on repeat. He poured himself coffee and sat by the window, reminding himself of the reality. He was 52, divorced, and comfortable in a life that had settled into quiet routines. Emily was 22, full of energy, at the start of her journey. The distance between them wasn't just years, it was entire chapters of life, and yet, something inside him wouldn't let go. A week later, Mark invited him again. "Game night, same place. You better not bail this time," Mark teased over the phone. Michael almost said no, but some part of him wondered, would Emily be there? That evening, when he stepped into the familiar living room, he saw her. Emily was already seated on the floor, arranging the game pieces. She looked up, her face lighting up the way it does when you see someone you didn't realize you were hoping for. "You came back," she said, her voice warm. Michael smiled, his nerves betraying him. "I guess I did." The games began, but just like before, their connection grew in the quiet moments, the small jokes, the subtle glances. Michael noticed how she leaned toward him when she laughed, how she asked about his favorite books and listened closely to his answers. At one point, during a break, Emily asked softly, "Do you ever feel like people meet at the wrong time?" The question caught him off guard. He hesitated, then admitted, "I've thought about that." More than once, their eyes held for a beat too long, the air heavy with unspoken feelings. But then someone called them back to the table, breaking the spell. Later that night, when most people had left, Emily and Michael found themselves alone in the kitchen, helping clean up. She handed him a glass to dry, her fingers brushing his. The contact was small, but it felt electric. Emily spoke first. "You probably think this is crazy." Michael set the glass down, his chest tightening. "I think it's complicated." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Complicated doesn't mean impossible." For a moment, Michael's carefully built walls threatened to crumble. He saw the sincerity in her eyes, the same longing he had been fighting. But he also saw the risk, the weight of what it would mean. "Emily," he whispered, his voice breaking slightly, "you deserve someone who can walk with you into the future, not someone who's already lived so much of it." Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't step back. Instead, she whispered, "Maybe what I deserve is someone who understands me now." The silence stretched between them, filled with emotion they could no longer deny. Michael's heart pounded, torn between reason and the pull of something deeper. Finally, he exhaled, his voice trembling. "If we take even one step down this road, everything changes." Emily held his gaze, steady and brave. "Maybe that's exactly what we both need." And in that fragile moment between fear and possibility, the world seemed to pause. Michael knew nothing would ever be the same again. The end.